gonna start with 4 potatoes, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, a half a teaspoon of salt, which I've already measured, a half a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half a teaspoon of paprika. For equipment, you're gonna need a large Ziploc bag, a cutting board, and a chef's knife. And you're gonna need to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. I would do that now because it's gonna take a while to heat up. You also need a peeler. I have 2 different ones here, this one and this one. This peeler is actually really handy because when you're taking eyes out of your potato like this, you can use the end to scoop it out and pop it out. You have options. You can either leave the skin on or take the skin off. These potatoes that I have look a little beat up, so I'm going to take the skin off. If you wanted, you could just take these spots off and leave the rest of the skin. So I'll do that and I'll show you the results. To peel this potato, I'm going to start with the peeler at the top and move it towards the other end and do it in strips. I'm also going to start a garbage bowl where I put all the peels, and then when I'm finished, I can throw those all out at the same time instead of going in and out of the garbage, and it keeps my cutting board clear. Okay, I've peeled my potatoes. I started by cleaning them, then peeling them, and I took the eyes out. Now I'm going to cut them. So that is where we're going to practice our knife skills that we were learning about this week. We're going to use a claw, so we're going to have our fingers curled back, our thumb tucked under. We have to decide how we want to cut our potatoes, but to start, I'm going to cut them in half. If I want to do wedges, which take a little longer to cook, so beware of that, I'm going to cut them in half and then cut them on an angle in half again. So it'll look like this. If I want to do more like French fries, I'll show you that as well. You can slice them and then cut them into sticks. The biggest thing is just to make sure that however you choose to cut them, you do it in a uniform way. One thing to remember is that when you're cutting it, you want to get a flat surface. So if I'm cutting it in half, then I'm able to put the flat surface down on the cutting board, and then my potato doesn't rock. If I were trying to slice it like this, it would be harder. If you want to cut it differently, another way is to cut a little slice off the bottom like that, so that it then sits stable, and I could work my way across like this. Also remember the proper grip. You want to hold the knife by the handle and on the bolster, so your thumb and your forefinger are on the bolster or the beginning of the blade, and the rest of your 3 fingers are on the handle. I prepared all my potatoes and I put them into the Ziploc bag. And now I'm going to add the seasoning and the olive oil. To measure the olive oil, I'm going to measure it over my garbage bowl in case I spill. I'm going to add the 1 tablespoon of olive oil, a half teaspoon of salt, the half teaspoon of onion powder, the half teaspoon of garlic powder, and the half teaspoon of paprika. I'm going to close this bag and I'm going to shake it, like shake and bake. I shook it for about a minute and now it looks like the potatoes are coated with the seasoning. I'm going to use this Pampered Chef pan. It's kind of like stoneware. You can use a regular baking sheet. If you want, you can put parchment paper on it so it's easier to clean, but I'm just going to spread them out evenly on this sheet and put them in the oven at 400 degrees for 45 minutes. Okay, this is about halfway through. I've taken them out of the oven and I'm going to flip them. I just want to remind everybody that 45 minutes is a suggestion. When everyone's using different ovens, the cook time can change. So my oven runs cool, so I might leave mine in a little longer. your oven might run high. So check it maybe before the 45 minutes and see how they're doing. But I would flip them at least once about halfway through. So this is the final product for my fries.